Let's queer up the worldview. And does Brazil have a serial killer targeting gay men through dating apps? The LGBTQ community in Brazil is grappling with a disturbing rise in violence, with a series of murders and armed robberies targeting gay men who met their assailants through dating apps. Reuters reported that since March, at least 5 men have been killed and dozens more have fallen victim to armed robberies. One recent victim was Leo Nunes, a 24-year-old who arranged a meeting with a man from the dating app Hornet in São Paulo on June 12th, Lover's Day in Brazil. Security footage revealed 2 men on a motorcycle arriving at the alley where Nunes was waiting, stealing his phone and fatally shooting him. A suspect has been apprehended. Brazil's large LGBTQ population also faces significant risks, compounded by fears of mistreatment by authorities. According to lawyer Wanderley Montanholi, because of structural homophobia, criminals know that LGBTQ people are vulnerable. They know they will be more easily intimidated. He is representing the family of Heleno Veggi Dumba, a gay doctor murdered in April after a date arranged through a dating app led to an attempted robbery and his death. Gabriel, another victim, recounted his attack in March near the site of Nunes's murder. He said, "One man put a gun to my stomach and asked me the password of my phone." His attackers then drained his bank account and maxed out his credit card. After reports and complaints about a fake profile used in these crimes, the app has since increased its review team. Nunes's parents labeled his murder an anti-gay hate crime, but legal and societal challenges often prevent such incidents from being officially recognized as homophobic. Crime investigators are looking at the possibility that one or more of the criminals could be classified as serial killers, which would be a first in Brazil. Wow. So I have a lot of emotions about this story on all ends. I was in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in March, and I've been there many times. I have Brazil tattooed on my arm, which happened after my first visit in 2019. And the one thing that people always ask me, despite Brazil having been the safest country I've ever visited for me, with one small exception, I always tell people that if you use common sense, you should be okay. You know, don't just go blind. So my fear in seeing this story is, of course, that it's going to freak people out from wanting to visit this beautiful country. I also am reminded that when I lived in San Francisco, I would see on a regular basis, I feel like, flyers about missing gay men on telephone poles. And I've seen that here too. So this is something that happens everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And it's awful what's happening in Brazil, you know? But I think it's important to remember that this affects our community. It affects all communities. Now, I was just in Denmark, and there, I mean, I know it's one of the statistically safest places in the world because there's more government access to education, to healthcare. And a country like Brazil has more disparity, largely because if you're in Rio de Janeiro, you look up at the mountains, you see the favelas, and people can see the opulence down below. That doesn't mean everyone up there is bad. I've toured the favelas, and they're magical, fascinating. I would live up there. But there's a reason for it in certain countries, inclusive of in the United States. But I really hate to see this story because I want people to know they can go have an incredible vacation in Brazil, but this is a problem and it's something that we do have to address better, and especially through dating apps.
You know, I'm surprised. I guess surprised is not the right word. We did a story a couple of months back about where most LGBTQ plus people live worldwide, right? And Brazil was like top 3 of the amount of people. I was kind of taken aback by that. So it's surprising that in a country that has so many of us also deals with so much of backlash, the government's against us, we can go on and on and on. The disparity between, you know, the people that have money and the people that have absolutely nothing, you know? But just like you said, this can happen anywhere, Patrick. This can happen anywhere. You know, I went to Turkey with 50 LGBTQ plus people, and I told every single boy, you better not open up that grinder, I'll slap you right here. You know, because I mean that's that's how they're getting a lot of boys also.
Right.
You know, they're baiting you in, and then then they rob you or whatever.
And don't meet anyone in an alley. I mean, the story reported.
But isn't that where most boys have sex in alleys?
Well, I don't know.
Not all, but okay.
I use dumpsters.
Oh my goodness.
Well, let me just say, I love Brazil. You know, I've been traveling to Brazil for about the past 10, 15 years. And so common sense is very important, you know, and I look at it like this. I'll say it this way. If I'm not going to meet somebody in the alley in Wilton Manors or Fort Lauderdale Beach, I damn sure not going to meet you in the alley in a foreign country. I said what I said.
Ultimately, it's just let's start making better decisions, and not to blame the victims because obviously no one deserves that. But as a community, we need to learn to be safer with some of our decisions, and we also need to educate and inform. Wait, who does that? We do.
We do.
We need to educate and inform people around the world about what's going on and how to better prepare and take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Common sense.
And everything we're talking about here, from legislation to, how we can be more accepting, would lead to less violence because people wouldn't feel like they had to go hide in an alley, right?
Yeah.
We should be a more sex-positive world and not shame same-gender relationships of any sort, correct?
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. So if there is a serial killer in Brazil, what would be the name of him? You know how they always come up with would it be like the Rainbow Killer? Or would it be the Grinder Killer? Or would it be, I don't know.
The Hornet Stinger.
The Hornet Stinger. There, Dateline. Use
Copyright.
that. Use that.